Hi, my name is Lauren Streb. I'm an executive coach and leadership consultant, and I support leaders to create careers and lives that fulfill them. Now, the leaders that I work with know that while it's incredibly important to keep developing leadership competencies like negotiation skills, what has created the biggest shift in their experience of coming to work and in their ability to lead as world-class leaders is their self-awareness. When they start to learn the skills to become more aware of their emotions, their habits, their assumptions, the way they talk to themselves, then they can identify more opportunities to make a change. They have more choice points about how they want to lead, and through those choices, their leadership starts to change. They feel more fulfilled by the work that they're doing, and they feel more capable to take on increasing responsibilities and challenges. When I thought about what I wanted to teach about in my first Skillshare class, the first thing that popped into my head was performance feedback conversations. Now, I'm a former executive myself. I worked for 14 years at a prestigious biotech company, and I've had my share of difficult performance feedback conversations, both as the recipient of the feedback and as the person delivering it. And when I talk to my friends and colleagues, it breaks my heart that there's so many of these kinds of conversations that go poorly. Now, when I talk to the people who received the feedback, I've heard stories about having managers be very distracted and giving cues through their body language that the conversation wasn't a priority to them. I've also heard stories about managers who gave feedback that wasn't specific or actionable enough for the employee and that confused the employee. Now, as someone who's been on the other side of the table, I know why this can happen. I know how emotionally charged these conversations are. I know what it's like to be the person soliciting the feedback from senior leaders and getting feedback that feels unusable or that doesn't pass the red face test. And we'll talk about what to do with that in this class. When I think about what helps someone deliver feedback as a world-class leader, there are two elements that were especially important to me. The first is how the feedback is filtered and structured. So in part one of today's class, we'll go through the CARE model, C-A-R-E, and that's a formula for how you structure the feedback. We will talk about some examples of what works well when you're following this formula, and some other examples of things that actually aren't very effective and are watch-outs. And I'll use specific examples from my work experience to illustrate these points. In the second part of my class, we'll talk about the emotional intelligence that is so critical to having these difficult conversations. Part two of the class is called 3 Keys to Have Performance Feedback Conversations with Self-Awareness. And we'll talk about things that you can do to be fully resourced, to be aware of your emotions, to be able to make effective, present-based choices during these conversations, however they unfold. And in the third part of the class, we will talk about the project. And the project will involve 3 elements: dissecting feedback that you've received in the past to understand why it didn't feel effective, planning feedback that you intend to give an employee, and looking at what you know about yourself, what you will need to feel resourced and self-aware during the conversation so you can make a plan for how that can be a requirement for how you go forward in managing performance. I'm so glad you joined me for this class, and I can't wait to see your projects and the discussion that comes from it.